When my stepchildren told me I should know my place, I finally understood where I belonged, anywhere but under their roof. My name is Daniel Miller. I'm 45 years old, a carpenter who spent his life building things that last. Houses, furniture, dreams. But nothing prepared me for spending 10 years building a family that never saw me as anything more than a paycheck with a hammer. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought if I gave enough, time, love, energy, money, they would see me as more than just mom's husband. I showed up to every school play, every soccer practice, every late-night homework meltdown. I was the one who fixed flat tires, paid for braces, and kept the lights on when their biological father disappeared for months at a time. But here's the truth I learned the hard way. You can pour every ounce of yourself into people, and if they've already decided you don't belong, you'll never be more than a guest in your own home. So when my stepchildren laughed about how pathetic I was, how I should remember my place, I realized something. Maybe the most powerful thing you can do, the most loving thing you can do, is to stop giving to those who only take. Now I want to ask you, the ones listening, would you keep giving to people who only see you as a wallet? Or would you finally walk away? If stories like this hit home, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the next chapter of this story is one you won't want to miss. I met Clara Johnson when I was 36. She was 38 then, a nurse, divorced, with 3 kids. Ethan, 15, Madison, 13, and Lily, 9. Clara had a presence that drew people in. Confident, intelligent, and radiant, she carried herself like someone who knew her worth, and when she looked at you, it felt like you were the only person in the room. At that point, my life was steady but modest. I was renting a small 2-bedroom apartment and working as a self-employed carpenter, putting away every dollar I could to one day buy a house. Clara's world looked very different. She and her kids were stuck in a cramped, run-down duplex where the heater barely worked, and the landlord ignored every repair request. Her ex-husband, Mark, was months behind on child support, always ready with excuses, never with solutions. Most of the burden fell squarely on Clara's shoulders. 8 months into our relationship, I thought I had found the perfect answer, not just for me, but for all of us. I used my savings to purchase a 5-bedroom house in a quiet neighborhood with one of the best school districts in the area. It was everything Clara had dreamed of: space, safety, stability. My plan was simple. I would handle the mortgage and the big bills, while Clara took care of groceries and household needs. We would be a team, equal partners. But I wanted more than just a financial arrangement. I wanted her children to feel that this was their home. I painted Ethan's room in his favorite team colors, set up a study desk and shelves for Madison, and created a cozy reading nook with fairy lights for Lily. I poured every ounce of care into that house so they'd know, you belong here. And for that first year, it felt like the dream was real. Family dinners filled with laughter, movie nights piled on the couch, backyard barbecues on warm evenings. It seemed like we were writing the first pages of a new and hopeful family story. I remember thinking, this is it. This is the new beginning I was waiting for. The first year felt like a dream, but the dream didn't last. By the second year, the atmosphere in the house began to change. Ethan, once eager for my help, stopped saying thank you when I bought him something. Madison started rolling her eyes whenever I offered to check her homework, as if my presence was more annoyance than support. And Lily, the sweet little girl who used to call me Uncle Dan with warmth, suddenly dropped the nickname. Now it was just Daniel, cold, distant. I tried not to take it personally, but each small shift felt like a door closing. When I told Clara what I was noticing, she smiled and shook her head. "Teenagers are just moody," she reassured me. "They'll grow out of it." But deep down, I knew this wasn't a phase. It wasn't just moodiness. It was dismissal. When people asked the kids about their family, they'd say, "It's me, Mom, my brother, and my sister." I wasn't included. At Ethan's basketball games, he'd run to hug Clara in front of his friends, introduce her proudly as my mom, and look right through me, though I was the one who drove him to every practice. Still, I kept giving. I bought Madison the expensive dance shoes she swore she needed. I hired a tutor for Lily when math became too much. I spent money, and what did I get in return? Eye rolls, sighs, a dismissive, "Whatever, Daniel." It felt like the harder I tried, the less I mattered. And though I didn't want to admit it, a painful thought started to take root. Maybe no matter how much I gave, these kids would never see me as family. One night, after another argument with Ethan, I told Clara how worn down I felt. "No matter what I do, they'll never see me as family," I confessed. Clara reached for my hand, her eyes soft. "They will," she whispered. "Once we're married, everything will change. The kids will finally understand you're here for good. They just need time, and a reason to believe this is permanent." Her words gave me hope. Maybe a wedding was the missing piece. Maybe once I was officially her husband, the kids would stop treating me like a stranger. So we set a date. The wedding itself was simple, small. Clara looked radiant, and for a brief moment, I let myself believe things were turning around. The kids played their roles, smiling for the camera, standing where they were told. But beneath the surface, I sensed the distance. That feeling was confirmed during the reception, when I overheard Madison whisper to her cousin, "At least Mom married someone who pays for everything." Not, "He's good to us." Not, "We love him." Just, "He pays." The words stung, but I swallowed the pain and told myself things would be better once we got home. After the honeymoon, I gathered everyone in the living room. I wanted to lay down some ground rules, to talk about respect, about what being a blended family meant. Ethan didn't let me finish. "You're not my dad. Stop pretending." The contempt in his voice cut deep. Madison crossed her arms, smirking, and Lily, the one I thought was closest to me, looked at me coldly. "You're just Mom's husband." Nothing more. I turned to Clara, silently begging her to say something, to stand by me. But she said nothing, just silence. And in that silence, I finally understood. Marriage hadn't made me part of the family. It had only confirmed what the kids already believed. I wasn't their father. I was just the man paying the bills. After that night in the living room, something inside me cracked. Clara's silence still echoed louder than the kids' words. I told myself to push through, to keep trying, but deep down, I felt the foundation of this so-called family start to crumble. Then came the moment I'll never forget. One afternoon, I came home early from a job site. I slipped in quietly, heading toward my office to grab some tools. From the kitchen, I heard the kids talking, their voices casual, unguarded. Ethan snorted, his tone dripping with disdain. "He thinks he owns this place." Embarrassing Madison chimed in without hesitation. "He should know his place." And Lily, sweet little Lily, delivered the cruelest line of all. "He's lucky Mom keeps him around." They all laughed, not a cruel, villainous laugh, just a casual, mocking amusement, as if I were the punchline to an inside joke. I stood frozen in the hallway of the house I was paying for, listening to 3 kids I had raised for nearly a decade dismiss me like some pathetic fool. That was the moment something inside me didn't just break, it died. I walked back outside, sat in my truck for 2 hours, staring at the steering wheel, realizing the truth I'd been avoiding. I wasn't family. I was just a wallet with a hammer. From that day forward, I started documenting everything. Every mortgage payment, every utility bill, every pair of dance shoes, tutoring session, car repair, and vacation. Over 10 years, the total was staggering. More than $500,000 poured into a family that treated me like an outsider. It wasn't about revenge. It was about clarity. I needed to see, in black and white, what my love and effort had really cost me. And then, the final straw came at dinner one night. I had picked up takeout, set the table, and tried, once again, to spark a normal family conversation. "How was everyone's day?" I asked. Ethan didn't look up from his phone. "This isn't your house," he muttered. "It's ours." Madison smirked, nodding in agreement. Lily's voice was cold as ice. "You need to remember your place." I set down my fork, my hands steady even as my heart pounded. For the first time, I didn't argue, didn't defend myself. "You're right," I said quietly. "I do need to know my place." And in that moment, I knew exactly what I had to do. That night, I stayed awake, printing. Mortgages, bills, receipts. By morning, a heavy stack of papers sat on the table. 10 years of proof that I carried this family on my back. When Clara came home the next evening, I was waiting at the kitchen table. The binders sat between us like silent witnesses. "We need to talk," I said. Her eyes darted to the paperwork, then back to me. "What is all this?" "This," I said, pushing the binders toward her, "is 10 years of my life. Over $500,000. Every bill I paid, every expense I covered, every piece of evidence that I was here, pulling the weight while your kids treated me like I was nothing." Her face went pale. "They're just kids," she whispered. "Please, Daniel. Don't leave. They don't mean it." I shook my head. "They're not kids anymore. They've been telling me for years I'm not family. And you never once defended me." Tears welled in her eyes. "I thought if we gave it time, they'd come around." 10 years, Clara," I said, my voice breaking. 10 years is enough time." She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "I'm selling my half of the house," I told her. "You can buy me out or move somewhere else. Either way, I'm done paying for a family that doesn't want me." Her sobs filled the room, but I felt strangely calm. "I'll transfer all the utilities into your name. The insurance, the phone plans, the streaming services, everything. From now on, it's your responsibility." She shook her head, pleading. "You can't just walk away." "I'm not walking away," I said quietly. "I'm respecting their wishes. They don't want me as family. They don't want me making rules in their house. Fine. My place is somewhere I'm actually wanted." 2 weeks later, I packed my tools, my clothes, and moved into a small apartment across town. No mansion, no family portraits on the wall. Just me, my silence, and, for the first time in years, my peace. The collapse came quickly. Within weeks, the Wi-Fi was cut, the utilities overdue, and Ethan's car sat useless without insurance. Madison's dance classes were gone. Lily's tutoring canceled. The rhythm of their lives, once held together by my paycheck, fell apart piece by piece. Clara was drowning. She worked double shifts, begged her sister for help, and still couldn't keep up. The stress carved lines into her face, and the kids, so used to comfort, were dragged down with her. Ethan grew resentful when his freedom disappeared. Madison sulked as her dreams dissolved. Lily cried at night, asking why everything was falling apart. And Clara called me endlessly, sometimes in anger, sometimes in tears. They need you. I need you. Please, Daniel, come back, but I didn't answer. Their chaos was no longer mine. I never went back. For months, I lived alone in a small apartment. No shouting, no slammed doors, just silence. At first it felt heavy, but soon it became peace. I spent evenings building for myself. Furniture, small projects, things I'd neglected for years. A year later, I met Sarah, a teacher, divorced, no kids. She didn't see me as a wallet or a handyman. She saw me as her partner. She laughed at my jokes, asked about my day, and made me feel like I mattered. We took it slow. I was cautious, scarred from the past. But she proved that love doesn't demand payment. It simply shows up, steady and true. Now, as we plan our wedding, I hold on to one truth. You can't force belonging. You can't buy respect. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is choose yourself. So tell me, what's worth more to you? Peace of mind or keeping a family together at any cost? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if stories like this resonate with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next chapter.